Ladies and gentlemen, holy Toledo, welcome back to Data Dispatch. What a great day to come back here, start making some content for you guys, giving you guys the most important updates that you need to hear, because we see a lot of buying pressure happening right now as we speak in the overnight hours, especially on Robinhood. Nvidia comes in, smashes earnings. We see Palantir securing some major partnerships. We're going to be rolling a clip here in just a second. And of course, the federal courts coming in and talking about rejecting Trump's tariffs, the terms of the reciprocal tariffs, causing a lot of optimism into the market. Before we get too far, let's roll the clip on Palantir's new partnership that we just recently learned about.
We did a boot camp with Palantir. We gave their technology 4 real loan files. Now, if you have a mortgage, you know there's a lot of paper in mortgages, right? Reams of paper. We gave them 4 loan files. It was a mortgage case, a fraud case, where someone had docked the financial statements, gave us fake, it was one broker involved in all these 4 cases. It took our really talented investigators 60 days to detect fraud in 2 of these files. It took your technology 10 seconds. Like, holy cow. So we did.
Wow. 60 days from an investigation looking into mortgage fraud with Fannie Mae here. Palantir was able to discover that in an AI boot camp. That same type of fraud, discover that in 10 seconds. The fact that Palantir here is showing its utility across multiple different industries is continuing to scale its true potential that we're seeing with just the enormous partnerships that we're seeing across the board. Look at this the day before. Palantir partnering with Bain and Company. The list can go on and on and on. Where Palantir sits in terms of price action right now is sitting at about $123. Palantir has been sitting here consolidating at these all-time high levels. And with the optimism that we're seeing, if we see a push past here in the major resistance point, especially for the S&P 500 index, and with a lot of the AI stocks, with Nvidia smashing earnings, we'll be covering that here in just a few short moments, Palantir could be blasting through its all-time highs of about this 133 here. And it's been doing a good job just gearing up, hanging out here at the 120s. A year ago, a lot of people, especially the bears out there, would not be anticipating Palantir to be sitting at these levels. So great to see consolidation here, cooling off at these great points. Where Palantir sits at right now in terms of the overnight hours is at 126.62. Up about another $3. We're seeing a lot of overnight buying pressure, like I mentioned before, really ramping up into the optimism that we're seeing in this market. And specifically, coming off of the technicals here, yes, it's kind of hard to talk about the technicals because if Palantir does break, in my short-term prediction, if Palantir, with the optimism that we're seeing, if we see it break that all-time high resistance, that's where we're going to see the move to possibly 150. That's what a lot of the analysts are talking about, and I kind of agree that looking at the bullish perspective. You have top of the analysts right here, a lot of people listening to Dan Ives from Wedbush talking about here, expects Palantir to rise above $400. And you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Dan Ives has always been very bullish on Palantir. And with all of his calls that he's made over the last year, he's been right. He expects the company to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of the AI boom. Nvidia's on top of the game in terms of hardware, and Palantir's on top of the game in terms of software. He's been right, like I said, and he's not pulling back on the bullish stance, predicting that Palantir will more than triple in the coming years and trade about $400 per share. He says that they believe they're talking about $1 trillion market cap for Palantir in the next few years, and think that when you look at Alex Karp and Palantir, what they're doing, along with Nvidia, they will be leading the AI revolution. And I can see this in terms of the big ones. Just like look at the healthcare industry, for example, partnering with the Joint Commission. Do you know how big that's not just partnering with a hospital system, that's partnering with a whole enterprise that works with the standardization and regulation in terms of the healthcare industry. And now partnering with Fannie Mae, you can see this is continuing on and on, getting into a large sector of the mortgage company and the housing market. What we see now with Nvidia, shocking, popping up over here, 141.85, up about $7 in the overnight hours. Now, what we had saw with Nvidia, if we can find it on the dang list here, closing at 134, we actually saw a big red candle, a decent sell-off. The shorts trying to win right here at the market close. Not so fast. You can see Amit here posted the quick results, quick summary for you guys. NVIDIA Q1 earnings. Jensen coming out here with a slam dunk. $44 billion in revenue, up 69% year over year, with earnings per share of 81 cents versus the 76 cents expected, with a 14 billion of shares repurchase. And you're seeing record gaming revenues up over 48% year over year, and data center revenues, not surprised there, 39.1 billion, up 73%. Jensen coming out here and say countries around the world are recognizing AI's essential infrastructure, and just like electricity and the internet, and Nvidia stands out at the center of this profound transformation. Nvidia is leading the way here in terms of hardware. We're seeing the AI boom that is continuing to show no signs of slowing down, and the market, especially retail, seems to be understanding this. Even with the uncertainties that we're seeing in the economy right now, the AI infrastructure is continuing to take off in every type of subsector that is affected by AI. Looking at the chips, the producer of the chips, the cloud AI computing platforms, looking at those stocks. And now we're looking into the energy limitations. What we're seeing with the executive orders deregulating and opening up the doors for the nuclear sector to try to bring power for these AI chips. This computing power is going to get intense. How do we get the energy for it? That's looking at nuclear. Research the nuclear energy stocks, and you can see just what the performance has been over the last month. The AI boom and Jensen right here is taking this world by storm. What we see with Nvidia specifically sitting here at 141, they could possibly be testing all-time highs here in the near-ish future. If we look on Nvidia right here at this 153, if we get this gear up here, Nvidia, if it pushes past that 153, likely going to be testing some strong resistance there, depending on the broader market. On top of what the performance will be looking like tomorrow and on Friday's session, we'll be keeping you guys up to date. That's where we could see this kind of price discovery mode. We're not there yet, but it is getting closer, and I think this was an important catalyst to help boost that. What's happening in the market here? Dow Jones jumping about 500 points. We see the S&P 500 actually come down here. Like I said, there was a sell-off towards the end of the market close, just because market kind of basically sat on sidelines today, waiting to see what Nvidia was going to do. Everybody was just kind of sitting around, waiting for what those earnings were going to call for, and we saw astronomical earnings. On top of that, we also see the federal court coming out here and knocking down President Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs, and that is being coupled here with the heavyweight Nvidia also skyrocketing in the markets. Now, the U.S. Court of International Trade ruled that Trump actually overstepped his authority when he imposed his reciprocal tariffs. The judges here ordered that the challenged tariffs orders be vacated. This is all related to the April 2nd announcement of the reciprocal tariffs. Now, what this did was cause a big dip in the market, we know, and we've seen a pulling back, of course, a recovery of that, with Trump basically delaying all those reciprocal tariffs, trying to start with the negotiations, but bringing in a lot of inflation fears here. So the market does like this in the terms of the federal court asking and basically trying to strike down Trump's, imposing on these tariffs. This will help reduce inflation and will help open the doors for Powell to cut interest rates. There's a lot of pressure on Powell to cut interest rates and the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates. So this is bringing more optimism in terms of the broader market and the hope for the expectations to hopefully cut rates. Now, we'll see what Trump's response will be to this in terms of the international trade rule that Trump, overstepping his authority and the reciprocal tariffs. More of that will probably play out tomorrow. There's going to be some battling back and forth there. So we'll see what happens in terms, not saying that these are completely gone forever. We'll see what happens there. We don't know. This market's crazy in 2025, but keep that on your radar. One thing I did want to talk about that we talked about on the channel before, one stock that actually took a big drawback today was Tempus. I look at Tempus and I see it come down 19% today, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what happened to Tempus? Is something really bad happening internally? I knew earnings wasn't, around the corner here or anything like that. So I was like, what happened that Tempus had a 19% sell-off? We see a little bit of recovery in the after hours. All it was a short seller's report. The short seller here warned that shares could drop 60%, spotlighting what it described as aggressive accounting financial reporting reporting and suspicious revenue generating partnerships. Tempus AI is really working to bring AI solutions to the healthcare industry with diagnostics, peak the index. Tempus really popped on the radar all because of Nancy Pelosi. We saw, Fancy Nancy, she came out with her bullish position on a very small market cap AI stock, and that was Tempus AI. So everybody kind of jumped on board there. We see that it's in the top 100 holdings among Robinhood investors after Cathie Wood also managed her own position on the stock. So on top of Cathie Wood and Nancy Pelosi, there's a lot of bullishness that's happening behind Tempus AI. So the fact that we got this much of a dip from a short seller's report for people taking a bullish perspective, talk about a discount price right there. But that's all that I have for you guys. We'll see what happens. What do you make of all this? Peace out. It's good to be back, and we'll see what happens tomorrow.